Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ibrahim Nafisat from Front End Mobile App team. And today I'll be discussing on CSS Grid versus Flexbox, choosing the right layout tool. So for our contents, we have introduction, understanding of Flexbox, understanding CSS Grid, key differences between CSS Grid and Flexbox, practical implementations and questions. In modern web development, essential layout techniques ensure responsive and user-friendly designs. So we use CSS Flex blocks and Grid to achieve that. Before CSS Flex blocks and Grid, we used floats and positioning, but floats and positioning did not give that exact layout that we needed until CSS Grid and Flexbox came. So what is Flexbox? Flexbox is short for Flexible Box Layout Model. It is a one-dimensional layout method for arranging items in rows or columns. The keyword there being or. Flexbox makes it easy to design a flexible, responsive layout structure without using floats or positioning, just like I said before. So for a Flexbox, it always consists of a flex container and a flex item. The flex container serves as the parent element, while the flex items serve as the children element. So this is an example of what it is. The cream colored background is the container, while the brown colored box is the flex item. Please, can anyone confirm that you can still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank
I
you.
can hear you.
So properties of Flexbox. So the properties that go on the parent container are the display, the justify content, align items, flex wrap, flex direction, and gap. Then for the properties that go on the flex item are order, flex row, and align self. So these are the examples of the properties that go on the flex container. So this is justify content. We have justify content for flex start, which pushes all the content to the beginning of the container. We have flex end, which pushes it to the end part. We have center to put the content in the center. We have space between, which puts space between each element. We have space around, which also puts space between each item element. Then we have space evenly, which gives everything inside the content even space. Then we also have align item. So justify content works on the horizontal axis, while align item works on the vertical axis. So the vertical axis flex start also does the same thing, but just on the vertical side. So it takes it to the top of the container, the bottom of the container, the center of the container, or you stretch it throughout the whole container. So this is flex wrap. Flex wrap is if you want to wrap your content. So in a case where you have more content than the container can take, it pushes the rest of the content to the bottom of the container. Flex direction just tells you which do you want your items to flex to be a row or a column. Then gap just puts gap in between the children items. So these are the properties that go on the children item. We have align self, order, and flex group. So align self is you just picking a particular child and saying, okay, I don't want this child to stay on this line. It should come down or wherever you want to put it, either flex start, flex center, or flex end. Then we have flex grow. This talks about the capacity of the child, what's the amount of space you want that child to take. If it is one, then if you put everything on one, then they all take the same width. But if you decide to put one on two, then it takes twice of the initial width that every other child item is taking. So for flex order, you use this to order the child items. So this one does not, you use it for repositioning. So even if you write your code as 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, no, let me use, even if you write your code as mom, dad, brother, sister, with flex order, you can decide to put sister first and just reposition it. So what is CSS grid? Please, can someone confirm that they can still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. The CSS grid layout is a two-dimensional grid-based layout system with rows and columns together. So for Flex, it deals with it's a one-dimensional layout that either takes rows or it takes column. But for grid, we combine the two together. You take both the rows and the column. So a grid layout divides a web page into 12 equal columns. These columns can be further split into your desired rows and columns. So just like Flexbox, Grid 2 also takes a grid container and a grid item. The grid container is the parent element, while the grid item is the children element. So for the grid properties, the properties that go on the parent container are display, grid template row, grid template column, flex wrap, flex direction, and gap. While for the child item, we have grid column start, grid column end, grid row start, grid row end, justify self, and align self. Okay, so this is your rows and your columns. Oh, sorry. This is your rows and your columns. So this item A is starting on column 2 and is ending on column 5, while the row is starting on row 1 and ending on row 3. Okay, so this is an example of a grid of a grid layout that has an header, a nav bar, an article area, the sidebar, advertising, and the footer. So with grid, we can restructure the layout to look like this. The header on top, followed by the nav bar. The sidebar should be by the side, then the main content in the middle. Then at the bottom, we have the footer and the advertising. So depending on the size of the screen, this is mobile. This first image here is for the mobile view. Then the second one is for a tablet view, while the third one will be for a laptop view. So these are examples of what we can achieve with grid. Okay, so for the key differences, we have differences in terms of dimension, alignment, complexity, support type, and use case. So grid is a two-dimensional layout for rows and column, while Flexbox is a one-dimensional for row or column. Flexbox is complex, but it is very powerful. To use Flexbox is a bit complex, but it is very powerful. While to use grid is a bit complex, but it is very powerful. Why to use Flexbox is easier and flexible. So grid requires you to define your rows and your columns, while Flex, you pick either the row or the column, depending on what you want your layout to look like. So support type, grid support type is layout first, while Flex is content first. Layout first in the sense that once you structure your grid, it stays that way. But for your Flexbox, you can, if your content is more, it can decide to stretch. You can decide to stretch with the content, to grow with the content. Let me use You can decide to grow with the content, or you set it as a constant size. Then for use case, we can use Flexbox for navigation bar, simple layouts, and cards. While for a Flexbox, for a grid, we can use it for the website layouts, dashboard, or complex UI designs. Okay, so is there any questions so far?
No questions.
Okay. Last time. Sorry, trying to. I want to share another application. Just give me a minute. Okay. How do we now do it? So this is an example of a flex code. So this this first div here serves as the parent container. Then this pricing plan serve as the child item. So this is parent container, then it has 1, 2, and 3. 3 child items that also have their own content inside. Let me open it. When we open it, we see the 3. We see the 3 items, basic, standard, and premium. So if we resize the screen, good. So if we resize the screen, we can see that the layout has changed to a column, yes, to a column layout, but on a different screen. It's so for a laptop view, this is what they're going to see, but for a mobile view, this is what it's going to look like. So this is something else we can also achieve with grid. So for the container, we have a grid template column to repeat 8 times. That means we are going to have eight columns. And then for the row, we are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, it's also 8. And they are all taking 1 fraction. That means they are all equal size. They are all going to be in equal sizes. And this is it. This is the container, and this is the 8 children. We have white, black. So let me show you the finished look. So this is the finished look. This is what we're able to achieve with grid. We're able to achieve with grid. So back to my questions. So for question 1, what property and value is used to create a flex container? Is it display flex box, display flex item, flex box layout, or flex and layout?
Sorry, but we can't really see the question side on the screen.
Oh, okay, sorry. But were you able to see the design I was showing now?
No, I wasn't.
Oh. Why is it? Okay, so can you see the design now? Hello?
Yes, I can see it now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So what I was showing before, this is what we achieved with Flex. So I said on a mobile view, on a mobile phone, this is what you are going to see. You're going to see it in a column. You're going to see it as a column, but on a laptop screen, you're going to see it as a row. Then I said this is something we can achieve using grid. So this is the container, the full box is the container, then it has 8 childrens with the same size. So for the question, I said what property and value is used to create a flex container? Is it display flex box, display flex item, flex box layout, or flex layout?
B.
Yes, thank you. That's correct. Then the correct property name to set the direction of the flex container to column is what? Is it flex wrap, flex flow, flex direction, or align item?
Align item.
No, it's flex direction. You set your flex direction to either row or column.
All right.
So apart from gift, I want somebody else to answer this question. The correct property to set the gap between the rows in a grid is what? Is it column gap, row gap, or flex gap, or flex direction?
Row gap.
Thank you, that's correct. So I've come to the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, you can let me know.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nafisat. That was insightful. Thank you, everyone that responded. Okay. Yeah. So, in the absence of any further questions, we have come to the end of KD today. Please do have a productive day. Thank you so much.